Are you in a new season of your life? Are you stuck and searching for clarity so you can make a career change? Do you just need the courage to switch careers? Are you ready to follow God's plan for your career? Welcome to Choose Your Next Yes. Hi, Kindred. I'm Mel, a career transition coach, mom of grown-ups, coffee lover, and God girl. I've had a lot of big life changes, and I haven't always been clear about God's plan for me. This led to stress and anxiety and a lack of clarity and courage to make a career move. I finally started listening to God's voice to find clarity and peace and stopped being scared to make a move and achieve my career transition goals. Now, my mission is to help you learn to listen to God's voice and know when to say yes to the career you've always wanted and no to everything else. Let me show you how to clarify your purpose and find courage to pursue your personal and professional goals in your midlife and beyond. Throw down your self-doubt, dust off your dreams, Kindred. It's time to reset and refine and reclaim the woman you once aspired to be.
When I was younger, I used to, lead sales teams. And I was never a morning person, right? Ever. And so I was like, if you need me to be at a meeting because of my title, I will be there at any time. But if you actually need me to contribute, not before 10. Right. And I'm like, no guarantees. And now that I'm older, I'm like, oh no, nothing after 3. Mm-hmm. My best thinking is now done in the morning and kind of going with that seasonality. But that's that's a very universal way to think about, listen to your body. Listen to your, to where you lean in and get excited and pay attention to this. Because in there lies the secret to that fulfillment that everyone's looking for.
And when you try to change even a thing like that, it makes your life miserable, in all honesty. I've always been a morning person. I mean, my body has been set to wake up at 5 a.m. and I love it. I have my time alone. I drink my coffee. I do my devotional. I spend time with God. I love the quiet. Even when I was married and my kids were little, they knew not to get up before I wanted them to be up because I wasn't going to be pleasant to them. And my boyfriend now, he is polar opposite of that. He is like 3 a.m, the man will still be up. And so I've tried to adjust my schedule to meet him at least a little somewhere in the middle. And it's not working because I am dog tired all the time now. So why am I doing it? To please someone else, because someone else thinks I should do that. Now, he's not telling me to do that, but
right.
If I want to spend time with him, there's going to be some time where I'm staying up a little later. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, as we think about our second act, as we think about our careers, as we think about the impact we're making. So I think at the end of the day, it's mostly think about impact. Especially at this point in time in our lives, right? It's less about proving to ourselves that we can do it. It's less about, appearances. It's less about all those things. And it's more about how can I make things better than they were before I got there? And where can I use my time and talents to serve and to make things different and better? And from there, we find our value. And from there, we find our purpose and our passion and our strengths. But we're not trained to do this. Like no one gets, prepares you for this mid-career funk, right? Where you look around and you're like, okay, I've worked really hard and this is really all there is. Like, is this it? Yeah. And you know what you don't want to do, but you don't know what you do want to do.
Right.
And it's like, I can tell you all the things I hate. That's easy. But I can't tell you what I love. And so the process that we bring our clients through is really going from that. How can history help inform my future? And how can I go back and find those moments and make sure that they're not moments, they are persistent in my life and, moving forward. And when that happens, it's just magic. And when you see that light bulb click on and we're like, okay, now I'm living into my full potential. I found my purpose. I'm no longer family. I love my family, but it's about me now, and kind of giving yourself the permission to do that. definitely a change in mindset.
Yes, it
Because you
is.
can always find new people to serve if you want to and still maintain your lack of fulfillment. Like there's always someone who will need.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, but I was on a round table with a bunch of entrepreneurial women last night, and one's like, "I suck at time management." I'm like, "No, you don't. You suck at saying no."
Right.
And she's like, "I do." Right? It's not all about time
Right.
management. It's like about filling your cup with the things that actually don't serve you,
Mm-hmm.
and not making yourself a priority. I'm like, that's where your problem is. It's not about time management. You
Yeah,
probably get more
right.
done in a day than almost everybody else. And so it's just changing that mindset into allowing yourself to pretend you're on an airplane that's about to crash, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
put your own mask on first
Right.
before you can help everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And making that transition, especially as women, as we're in our, mid career stage, is a transition that's not comfortable to make. But once you get there, it's like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe I didn't do this sooner.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So give us some actionable steps that my audience can implement like right away.
So first thing is to focus on what lights you up, right? So think about those one or two things that you can do for 12 hours a day and the day more energized than you started to be able to put more of that in your day. The
So
second
give us an example of that.
Okay, so I had given the example about me and being able to do these types of things. But for example, for one of my clients, right? My client absolutely loves doing strategic work.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. The operational stuff, which they have to do as well in terms of running the team, not so much, but she loves driving strategy and coming up with new ideas and being able to see where the problems are and then come up with solutions and drive that to closure. But her day job didn't allow her to do that very often,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's like, you got to run the business. So she hated what she was doing. She was bored and her team knew it. And they
All
started
right.
to manipulate the stuff that they saw. And so then she's decided, okay, so I'm not in a position where I can drive strategy for the organization, even though I can see all these mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But I am in a position where I can drive strategy right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so she started working with her team. And like, what part of your jobs are harder than they need to be? How would we fix that? And then started running those transformational improvements within her own wheelhouse that didn't need executive approval, didn't need money, didn't
Right.
need HR involvement. And then she was able to incorporate more of what she loved in her day. And so by being able to do that, now she's fired up again. She actually
Mm-hmm.
got promoted because she started caring again.
Exactly. And people noticed what she was doing and they were like,
Oh,
she's
hang on
doing
a
something
second.
pretty good right there.
Yes.
So you don't have to start big. It doesn't have to be world changing right away. It
Correct.
can be changing small change within your own wheelhouse, like you said.
And you don't
First,
need permission.
yes.
Right. So think about things in terms of, so whatever lights you up, first get clear on that, because that's the one.
Mhm.
But then, and so hopefully that's, from an example perspective, and how to incorporate that in your
Right.
day. The second thing I would encourage everyone to do is to do this quick test to see if the fear of failure is holding you back.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times we stay stuck
Yes, we
and
do.
we don't know if there are monsters or dust bunnies under our bed.
Right.
Right. We assume they're monsters because we always assume they're monsters, right? We
Right.
love to make things bigger than they really are.
Yes.
I'm sure there's a biological reason for it somewhere, but this is how we function. And so a good coach told me once, because I didn't see it. Whenever you're not taking action on something that you want, that is good for you and is taking you in the direction of travel that you want to go into, if you're not doing that, that's a fear-based response.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I bristled. I was like, I'm not afraid of anything. Like, that's not done. So she let it go. And then I started thinking about it. This was as early days in my entrepreneurship. And I was actually afraid of success
Mm-hmm.
because I had spent 20 plus years working 12-hour days. And I was like, if this business gets too big, I'm going to be chained to my desk again. I didn't want that.
Right.
And so think about and really figure out what is keeping you stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And then try and unpack that to see where that fear-based response is, because it's there somewhere. And
And I work on that with my clients as well. We do a lot of mindset work, those limiting beliefs, because there are limiting beliefs that you don't realize are limiting beliefs. And one of mine is perfectionism. And I
Mhm.
did not realize that was a limiting belief because you don't think of it in that context. Perfectionism, that's not limiting. Oh, yes, it is.
Totally
Because you
slows
don't
you
get
down.
anything done because it's never good enough. You
Correct.
never put anything out because it's never good enough. So my new mantra this year is bold, imperfect action, because you just have to take action and nobody's going to know it's not perfect but you. Nobody's going to care that that font isn't exactly what you wanted it to be
Right.
because
Or that
they
email
don't.
had a typo in it or whatever.
Right.
Right? Like no one
Right.
cares. And I'm definitely, I can't get anything out with a typo. So, my community knows when I've done it versus my team. And I think you're spot on with that in terms of what is slowing you down, and then take a
Mhm.
close look at it and figure out, get help through great coaching or, through other means that are out there on how to get over those obstacles. Because one of the things I found that really helps get the fear factor out of the way
Mhm.
is by adopting what I call an experimental mindset. So, too often we look at success and failure as opposites.
Mhm.
And the reality is, you can't succeed without having failed.
Correct.
The success is not linear. And so, if you are avoiding failure, you're preventing success.
Mhm. That's a great way to look at it. A great way to look at it.
But how do you get comfortable with that?
I
Right?
know it's
Because
hard.
we back ourselves into this corner of success, failure, black, white, good, bad. But the
Mhm.
reality is, nothing in our lives is ever a complete success.
Right.
Nothing in our lives is ever a complete failure. It's a narrative that we give ourselves and others. So when you take on this experimental mindset, you're already assuming some things won't work
Mhm.
because you're trying. We're going to experiment.
Mhm.
And we're going to do
Exactly.
this, and we're going to keep the things that worked. We're going to get rid of the things that didn't, and we're going to try again.
Exactly. And that failure is just a learning exercise of what not to do again. And I'm just going to give them a tangible example. I wanted to try a new recipe the other day. And so I mixed all of these things together and it was awful. And I'm like, okay, that did not turn out well, but I'm not going to not ever cook again or not ever try just because that one recipe didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. So you have to think about that in terms of your job, your pivot in your career. You can take a chance. You're not going to not cook ever again just because you did a bad job cooking one time.
Right. And the idea that whatever decision we make is permanent,
Yes.
right? And you are the boss of you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make the rules, you can change them.
Yeah.
And so when something doesn't serve you, then it's time to change the rules.
Right.
And so I think, in terms of really combining this 1-2 punch of learning and knowing what really fires you up and what lights you
Mm-hmm.
up, and building the muscle to be
Mm-hmm.
able to be resilient, identify what's holding you back, and move forward with, despite the fear,
Mm-hmm.
and learn as you go, then you start to step into a continuous growth mindset. And as you're
Yes.
growing, you're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're learning, you're building confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, because most women don't walk around with a lack of confidence. Like we don't walk around every day worried about everything.
Right.
But whenever you start to play bigger, or whenever you start to do something you've never done before, then your confidence decides it's going to head to the Bahamas for a long weekend. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, just when I need you most, you're gone.
Right.
And a lot of people wait for their confidence to come back. And I got news for you. There's no confidence fairy that's going to be sprinkling pixie dust on your pillow while you sleep.
Right.
And like you had mentioned before, confidence comes from taking action.
Right. Exactly. If you don't try something again, your confidence is never going to come back. All you have left in there is that failure, and there's no confidence with failure,
Exactly.
but there's confidence with trying and finding some success, even if it's one small thing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I was able to mix the batter correctly. Success,
Finally made good pie dough, which I still can't do, by the way. My mother would
right.
never
Yeah.
the recipe. She's like, it just looks right. I'm like, no, it doesn't. And so, but do one thing that scares you every day, just a
Yeah.
little,
Right.
right? You're not, you don't have to skydive. You don't have to bungee jump
Mm-hmm.
or, but just do one thing that you've been putting off,
Mm-hmm.
is good for you, but for whatever reason, you're not
Yes.
doing it and just
Yeah.
try it today.
And it doesn't even have to be career related.
No.
So if you want to drink more water and you want to get your 64 to 80 ounces of water a day, okay, do it and then celebrate every day that you did that. And that celebration brings more confidence. Hey, look what I did. I drank all my water today. And then add something else after a couple of days.
That's right.
Wonderful. So give us one last nugget of advice, one last spark for our women.
I think the last thing that I'll leave the group with is realizing that you are enough right now. Too many times we think we need one more certification, we need one more this, we need a little more of that. And we hold ourselves to a standard that's way higher than what anybody else would hold us to. And this happens from people that I coach that are CEOs with, PhDs thinking they need one more thing, to somebody who is 10 years into their career.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the last mindset thing I'd like to leave our listeners with is you have everything you need right now.
Right.
So there's no gating factor that should prevent you from moving forward, following the ambition and making the impact that you're here to make.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. So tell my audience how they can connect with you, Tammy.
Wonderful. So I love for people to reach out to me on LinkedIn and connect and tell me what you thought about the show, what you liked, what you didn't like, all the things. So reach out to Tammy Alvarez on LinkedIn. And then also careerwinnercircle.com is where you'll learn more about our coaching and you'll, have the opportunity to take a look at the book as well. And we do have a free offer for our guests today.
All right. Tell us about that.
We've got a free download called The Ultimate Career Strategy Guide. This is going to give you a lot of the steps to take and the roadmap to take that aligns with the conversation that you and I have had today. And so how do you take the things that we talked about and actually start to do this for yourself to show up bigger for you and those around you? So the link to that free download will be in the show notes. So I hope that everyone listens, grab that free download and get started on your ultimate career strategy.
And I will have all of Tammy's links to all of the ways that you can connect with her in the show notes. So you won't have any trouble finding any of that information, the downloads, her LinkedIn link, all of that.
All the goodies.
Yeah. Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Tammy. I've really enjoyed your conversation with me and with my audience today.
Thanks. It was a pleasure being here and I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks again.
Thank you. And for the rest of you, thank you for joining us today. And I will see you back here, same time, same place next week. Bye-bye.